Welcome, everybody. It's great to be here. And I want to thank Cran and Cindy for signing today. Pennsylvania is in a really good place right now. Over the past years, our Commonwealth has made some real progress. We've invested a record amount of money in education. We've reduced the number of uninsured Pennsylvanians to its lowest level ever. Our economy is surging. Just last month, our September unemployment rate, as of September, actually ties the lowest rate we've ever recorded. Over the last 8 years, we've stood firm to protect women's right to make their own health care decisions, and we've done all these things in a very fiscally sound way. We've raised our rainy day fund from $231,800 to just under $5 billion. We've managed our way to 4 straight years of budget surpluses. As you know, the 2020 fiscal year, the tax filings were moved a couple months into the summer, which actually pushed it off a fiscal year. But if you take 20 and 21 together, we had surpluses both of those years. And this current year, this is the 5th, calls for a $5.3 billion surplus. And I track revenues on a daily basis. As of the end of October, we're $400 million ahead on revenues. We've done all these things without raising taxes. In fact, we've actually reduced some taxes. So the question really is right now, what are we going to do? What is the Commonwealth going to do with this, all these resources? Of course, the answer lies with Governor-elect Shapiro. His goal is to take the progress we've made over the past 8 years and keep moving the Commonwealth forward into grand new places. He's going to face many challenges in this endeavor, but I know that the governor-elect is up to facing these challenges. So my job is to make sure that he and his team have the smoothest possible transition, and I am committed to doing just that. So without further ado, let me turn it over to the Lieutenant Governor-elect, Austin Davis.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's been 1 week since the people of Pennsylvania came together to choose unity over division, love over hate, and progress over extremism. The people of this Commonwealth resoundingly elected Josh Shapiro as our next governor, and me as a history-making lieutenant governor here in this Commonwealth. And for that, I'm deeply humbled and grateful. Throughout this campaign, Josh and I have crisscrossed this Commonwealth. We met and listened to Pennsylvanians in rural, urban, and suburban communities, and in communities across our state that are too often left behind. We ran to create an economy that works for everyone, to help working class folks deal with the struggles of inflation, to make sure folks have more money in their pockets, to make sure that every child has the opportunity to get a quality education regardless of their zip code, and that our working families have more opportunities to succeed. And because of the good people of Pennsylvania, starting today, we get to work on making those things a reality. I have often said throughout the course of this campaign that I believe that the people closest to the pain should be closest to the power. And Josh Shapiro and I are going to build an administration that looks like Pennsylvania. Together with the governor-elect, we're building a team and administration that will reflect Pennsylvania and our values. And we'll deliver on the things that we talked about on the campaign trail. I'm extremely humbled by this opportunity. But with this opportunity comes the responsibility to make sure that while I may be the first black lieutenant governor, that I'm not the last. That means building a government that looks like the people we represent. And it also comes with a responsibility to make sure that I'm always an advocate and a champion for the people who often feel unseen, forgotten, and unheard. With this historic win, we are proof that Pennsylvania will always be a place where all are welcomed and where all will have the opportunity to succeed and live the American dream. That no matter how you grew up, no matter where you're from or what you look like, this Commonwealth will always be a place where you can create your own destiny. Now, the real work begins. Our administration will be ready to get to work on day one. And that starts today as we make the first announcements of this transition process. And it's my privilege to introduce to you the governor-elect of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And it is indeed a pleasure to be with all of you. And Governor Wolf, thank you for welcoming us here to your office for these important announcements. And it's, of course, an honor to follow our history-making Lieutenant Governor and my friend, Austin Davis. It has been the honor of our lifetime, and it sort of seeps in a little bit each day, for Lori and I and our family to have been entrusted by the good people of Pennsylvania with this high honor to serve as Pennsylvania's next governor. This governor's race, of course, was a test about what kind of Commonwealth we want to be, whether we wanted to protect our rights and freedoms and fight for real opportunity for all Pennsylvanians, good schools, safe communities, and an economy that gives everyone across this great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania a fair shot. The people of this Commonwealth came together, and they spoke up in a decisive and historic way, standing up to extremism, defending real freedom, and standing and searching for common ground. That is my mandate. That is our mandate to lead forward. Today, I stand before you humbled and honored and ready to make this transition to serve as Pennsylvania's next governor. And now is when the real work begins, to meet these expectations and to get things done and deliver real results on our economy, on education, and on public safety. As we prepare to go forward, I think it's critically important that we take a moment to look back and assess where we are today. I'm honored to be standing here with my friend, Governor Tom Wolf, who has done such a fine job leading this Commonwealth over these last nearly 8 years. Right now, Pennsylvania stands stronger and better prepared for the future thanks to Governor Wolf's leadership. Governor Wolf left us on sound financial footing. After years of fiscally responsible leadership, we've gone from a $2.5 billion deficit to a nearly $5 billion surplus with another nearly $5 billion in the rainy day fund. The governor has delivered on historic investments in our public schools, setting more Pennsylvania children up for success in the future because of his leadership. Governor Wolf expanded Medicaid, bringing health care coverage to over 700,000 Pennsylvanians. And thanks to our governor, our critical freedoms, from voting rights to reproductive rights to the right to join a union, have been protected during this time of rising extremism. The list of his accomplishments go on. And now we stand, of course, at a moment of real challenge, but also a moment of real opportunity with a firm foundation beneath us, thanks to his leadership. So, Governor Wolf, thank you for helping us be in a position to help Pennsylvania move forward. Throughout this campaign, I've been focused on the issues that matter most: creating jobs and growing our economy, making our communities safer, and ensuring Pennsylvania children get a high-quality education. In sum, creating opportunity for all. To me, opportunity starts in our public school classrooms. It means fully funding our schools so that all Pennsylvania children receive a quality education. But it's not just about writing a check to our schools. It's about what we do with those investment dollars. That's why, when I'm governor, we will end our reliance on standardized testing, put VOTEC back in our schools, ensure that we have a mental health counselor in our children's school buildings. We also need to make sure that those children are safe in the communities that they live in when they walk to and from school. I believe Pennsylvanians have a right to both be safe and feel safe in their communities. So under our leadership, we'll hire more police. They'll be from the communities that they're sworn to protect. they'll look like the people they are there working with every day, and they will be properly trained. And we'll work together to grow our economy, to create jobs and cut taxes and put more money in people's pockets. We'll invest in apprenticeship programs to give everybody a shot. We'll put more emphasis on vocational training. We'll remove the college degree requirement for thousands of state government jobs to open up the doors of opportunity for more Pennsylvanians, including those who have historically been shut out. Great schools, safe communities, an economy that works for all. That's been my vision throughout this campaign, and it will be my vision as your next governor. And we will accomplish these things by working together. Look, Pennsylvanians, Republican, Democrat, Independent, came together in this election, and I know that they want to now continue to come together to move our Commonwealth forward. And so now we begin the hard work of staying together in order to get things done. This historic coalition we built to win this election will now power us forward in our responsibility to build an administration to meet this moment. We're going to assemble a talented, hardworking, capable administration, one that looks like Pennsylvania and one that is ready to go to work. For anyone who's willing to take off the red jersey and the blue jersey and just wear the Pennsylvania jersey, well, we want you to know you're welcome to be part of our team. And so today, we are announcing the first steps in the transition of the Shapiro-Davis administration. First and foremost, we are here to invite Pennsylvanians of all backgrounds and political perspectives to apply to join our transition and join our administration by applying online on our website at shapirodavis.org. This website will be the central location for people who apply for roles in the Shapiro-Davis transition or our administration. It will also be an opportunity for you to learn more about our focus and our plans going forward and how to participate in our inauguration. Austin and I are committed to building an administration that represents all Pennsylvanians and looks like the Commonwealth that we were elected to lead. And this website will be a critical jumping off point for us to accomplish that goal. Next week, we plan to announce our Transition Leadership Board, a diverse, dynamic group of leaders who will take a key role in advising our transition into the Shapiro-Davis administration. This committee will be focused on recruiting and hiring a talented team to help us govern. In addition to the Leadership Board, we'll announce several advisory committees of policy and professional experts, community advocates, business, industry, and labor leaders to help us prepare to move our priorities forward and get things done. This work is critically important, and so is planning an inauguration for all Pennsylvanians to be able to enjoy and participate in. To assist us in that effort, we'll be soon announcing an inauguration leadership board to lead the planning and execution of the Shapiro-Davis inauguration. Our inauguration is going to be fun. It's going to be interactive. It's going to be a series of events that are going to be focused on celebrating our Commonwealth, celebrating one another, and also on service to one another throughout our Commonwealth. I'm also here today to announce some key initial staff leadership roles in the transition and in the inauguration. Akbar Hussain, who was the policy director on our campaign, will serve as the executive director of the transition. Amanda Warren, who was the finance director on my campaign, will serve as the executive director of the inauguration. Manuel Bonder, who was the press secretary on the campaign, will serve as director of communications for the transition and for the inauguration. All three of them worked tirelessly on our campaign, and they're ready to help lead this transition into the Shapiro-Davis administration. More staff for both the transition and our administration senior staff will be announced very soon. As I said, it is the honor of my lifetime to have been elected as Pennsylvania's next governor, to follow my friend, Governor Wolf, into this awesome privilege and honor to meet the needs of the good people of Pennsylvania. I'm proud and humbled to be standing here today with Austin Davis, who's not only a friend and who is my partner in this campaign, but will be a history-making lieutenant governor here in Pennsylvania, and someone who will be by my side every step of the way, serving in both a prominent leadership role in our transition, as well as being by my side for the key decisions that our administration makes going forward. There are obviously many more announcements to make that we will make in the coming days and weeks. I encourage you to continue to check the website for updates, to work with Manuel for updates, and to listen up for things that we will be announcing in the coming days. I want to thank you all for being here today, and with that, Governor Wolf has agreed to answer all the hard questions, and I'll take the others, but we'll begin with Mark Levy from the AP.
Wondering about the transition on the Attorney General's office. Are you going to step down before you're inaugurated, or are you going to pick a replacement after you're inaugurated?
I intend to serve as Attorney General until I'm sworn in as governor. By law, the first Deputy Attorney General rises to the position of Acting Attorney General, and I'll make some announcements in the coming weeks as to my intention on nominating someone to the Senate for consideration as Attorney General. Dennis?
Yesterday, the new Senate Republican leadership was elected, and the Senate Majority Leader made a point of saying, yes, you've got a mandate, you've had an election, but we've won 42 straight Senate Republican leadership majorities as well. We've got a bit of a mandate as well. Just a reaction to that.
Look, the Lieutenant Governor-elect and I both reached out and spoken to President Pro Tem Kim Ward, herself a history-making Pro Tem. I'm looking forward to working with her. We had a very good and constructive dialogue. Obviously, there'll be a lot more conversation to have in the coming weeks and months so that I can best understand the priorities of her caucus in the state Senate. She can understand ours. And I'm convinced we'll find common ground. I've got a history of bringing Republicans and Democrats together to get things done. And that mandate I have is not just an electoral mandate, but what I heard clearly from voters is they want us to get things done in this building, to take off the red jersey and the blue jersey and come together around the principles that are going to matter most to the good people of Pennsylvania. And so I'm confident I can work with President Pro Tem Ward and the other leaders in the Senate as well as in the House to get meaningful things done.
You and Austin are lawmakers. Does that help you in that process?
I think we both, Austin and I, Lieutenant Governor-elect and I, have a history of being able to work across the aisle to get things done. We both understand that our election is to be able to now produce and get things done and make folks' lives a little bit better. And that is what we're going to be focused on doing. And we recognize we need partners in the legislature to do that. So I look forward to working with Leader Ward and the leaders in the House. Tom?
There may very well be a Democratic majority in the House next year at some point, based on the results that are coming in today. My question to you is, talk about the changing dynamics there with the legislature. You're going to have good leadership in some parts of the legislature, both on the Senate and House side.
Well, first and foremost, we want all the votes to be counted, and for the those who earn the most votes to be properly seated in the State House of Representatives. And I'll look forward to working with the new leaders in the House. And we're again going to have a government that's going to require Democrats and Republicans to work together. And so I'm confident we'll be able to do that. The House and Senate will work together. I'll work with them. Lieutenant Governor-elect will play a leadership role in engaging with the legislature. And I'm confident we'll be able to get things done together. Charlie?
Hey, I think Mark Levy.
Governor Wolf's itching to answer a question here. He really is. He's going to miss this.
You may both want to take a whack at this one, but Mark Levy noted in a report today that I believe this is the first time since 1966 that a departing governor has handed off the office to an incoming governor of the same party.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, do you think is there going to be a continuity of effort benefit for Pennsylvania out of that, or are we going to get penalized because we don't have enough of a fresh perspective on the problems facing our state?
I mean, it is somewhat unprecedented. It's also unprecedented that you quoted Levy in your question to me. I don't know. I've never heard that done before. But look, Governor Wolf and his staff, led by Elena Cross, have been absolutely phenomenal in these first few days of the transition. They've pledged to work with us. They've pledged to work with our transition team, which we'll be announcing again next week, and I'm confident that they will be able to download to us all of the necessary information we need to be able to be successful. And that is a responsibility I know they take very seriously, and that's for the good of the people of Pennsylvania to have that type of transition. Obviously, we're going to leave our own mark, and we're going to chart our own course, and I know that's what Governor Wolf would want us to do, and I think we will benefit from having a governor in the office who's prepared to participate with us fully. I would further just note, if I can finish, just because we're of the same party, it doesn't mean that we'll be the first administrations to be able to have a good and constructive transition. We've had other examples of that in the history of Pennsylvania.
And I think,
Governor, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I think the governor-elect is absolutely right. He's his own person, and he and Lieutenant Governor Davis are going to have their own administration. My job now is, and the job of my staff, is to make the transition as smooth and easy as possible, not to make any comments about whether they're going to be the same, they're going to be different. They are going to do their own thing, and again, the transition is going to be as smooth as possible.
if I could just follow up, though, I think the one thing I maybe didn't hear in those answers was, I was thinking of this from the standpoint of, you know, the football gets kicked in different directions here. You know, here we have a governor who is about public schools and maybe legalizing gambling. I'm thinking of Governor Rendell. And then we get Governor Corbett, and he's all about privatization and school choice. And then we have Governor Wolf, and he wants to expand Medicaid, which Governor Corbett resisted. I think you guys are more philosophically traveling down the same lanes. And that's, I guess that's what I was wondering. Do you think there's some benefit in sort of like the ship of state being headed more in the same direction for maybe a third term?
I think the real benefit here is what I said earlier, that Governor Wolf has laid a very strong foundation fiscally that gives us now an opportunity to make critical investments in growing our economy and public safety, in investing in our schools and opportunities for all. In addition to that strong foundation, he and his administration have made clear that they want to work with our transition to help us be able to hit the ground running. So we're very grateful to them for the important work they've done over the last 8 years and the important work that I know they're going to do over these next 60 or so days. Yes.
Yeah. So in Governor Wolf's transition in 2014, he had a bunch of ethics rules, included a gift ban for the transition team. There were also commitments to not fund it using public funds. Just wondering, are you to not fund the transition using public money? It was through private donors. I think they were capped at $50,000. Is that going to come back for this transition?
We'll have some announcements on the fundraising for the inaugural and the way we'll also fund the transition in the coming days, and happy to be transparent about that process.
Follow-up question that is unrelated, but it's still a follow-up. The IFO is projecting multi-billion-dollar deficits every year after 2023. So you mentioned fiscal stability. Is there a plan already in place to combat that?
Sure.
So having studied statistics and a lot of this stuff, I don't know where they're coming from. I track the revenues on a daily basis. We're $400 million ahead of the revenue expectations that I thought were pretty conservative, but we're doing really well. And if you look at the indicators, the coincident indicators right now for me are sales tax receipts and our withholding tax receipts. They are both way up. And so, we all know a recession, this is what the market economy does. It goes up and it goes down. But I also know that it is a fool's errand to actually speculate as to when it's going to happen and how severe it's going to be. The only thing I think we do know is that there are going to be some actuarial gains from the pension plans that we've reformed, and that will happen sometime in the mid-2030s. But I think anybody predicting anything in the economy between now and 2028, 2030 is going to have a tough time making that fit. In any case, whatever happens, we now have $10 to $11 billion that we have piled up, and we can do things. The governor's team can do some really amazing things moving forward, and that's whatever happens to the economy.
Yeah. Could I ask you, what do you if we could be in your meeting with Josh Shapiro, what do you tell the governor-elect is the biggest concern that you think he ought to keep his eye on in the next 4 years for Pennsylvania?
I have not done that, and I won't do that. I have known him for a long time, and I have the greatest respect for his capacity to look at a situation and see what he wants. I'm going to be, the thing I'm looking forward to most is being a resident of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania under a Shapiro-Davis administration, and I think they're going to look at the situation. They're going to see things differently than I did, and they're going to do an amazing job running this Commonwealth. Thank you.
Yes.
There may very well be concert. Oh, sorry. Wait,
Go ahead, and then I think I called on her first.
Oh, that's
Go
fine.
ahead. Yeah, I'm happy to answer your questions.
Oh, who's going first?
Go ahead, you can go.
Okay.
Manuel,
So with the rising gun violence, with the rising gun violence, what kind of public safety would you like addressed regarding gun violence reform?
I think people have a right to be safe and feel safe in their communities. And the level of violence in some parts of Pennsylvania is absolutely unacceptable. Our administration will be putting forth a plan to incentivize the hiring of more police officers across this Commonwealth, of working with municipalities to make sure that they are properly trained, that they look like the communities that they come from. We'll be working with the legislature to build on the investments, the anti-violence investments that Governor Wolf has already made, to invest more in initiatives like that, to understand the underlying drivers of violence in our communities, from a lack of quality education in some communities to, frankly, just ignoring the need for mental health and trauma-informed care, to making sure there are economic opportunities for folks in neighborhoods that are racked by violence. So we need to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time, which we can, and that means investing more in law enforcement and investing more in the things that are underlying the violence in our communities.
With, just a quick follow-up, with the House of Representatives voting to impeach Philadelphia DA Larry Krasner, do you have any comment on that, especially with gun violence increasing in the city?
I'll defer to the Lieutenant Governor-elect on that as a member of the House, but this is not an issue that comes before the Attorney General or the Governor, so I'll leave it to him if he wants to comment. I'm sorry.
Sure. Yeah, I was a member. I voted about a month ago to hold Larry Krasner in contempt because I believe when the legislature subpoenas you, you should respond. Today, I voted against his impeachment on the House floor because I believe every community should have the opportunity to elect their own leaders. And we as a General Assembly should not be disenfranchising those voters, and we should respect the voters of the city of Philadelphia to elect their own district attorney.
We have time for one more. We'll finish with Sam.
Thanks. I also have a policy question. There will probably be conversations about energy policy moving forward, specifically on Reggie. Remind us of your stance on that particular pact. What would conversations with the new General Assembly look like in regards to that?
I'm going to do exactly what I said throughout the campaign, and that is on day one, convene a working group. Folks from all different sides of this debate and discussion to come together around the table and find some consensus and common ground, the kind of consensus and common ground that doesn't raise energy prices or put anyone out of work, but that really commits to addressing climate change. I think there's a lot we need to do to combat climate change, a lot we need to do to create green energy jobs in Pennsylvania. I've got a package of ideas, and I think it's important that we get all folks around the table to work on this issue and to find that consensus. And so I'm going to do exactly what I said throughout the campaign, and that is convene that working group on day one, if not sooner.
Commitment to stay in Reggie.
I'm going to get this group together and begin to work on something that is going to be able to bring all different sides together on this issue, as I committed to do. Thank you all very much. Appreciate you, and we'll be following up with more announcements next week. Thank you.